All right. United States 2, Guatemala 1. A very interesting game where the United States started off playing well. It became very even. And then in the second half, Pochettino had one of the dumbest decisions he could have made of inviting Guatemala to attack us for 45 minutes, which ultimately led to Guatemala getting a goal and almost tying the game late in the game. We did win. We're through. We're making it to the final, which at the end of the day of the Gold Cup, that's what matters, right? Keep winning. As long as we don't get delusional about the level of the players, what matters is that we won. This was a big win. We make it to the final where we are expected to play Mexico on Sunday as long as they beat Honduras. Pete will be joining us halfway through because he couldn't make it. He let us know last minute. But Adam is here. And how are we doing, Adam?
Tack, what's up, man? We're in a final. We're back in a final.
Man, we are, and I screwed up here with the post game. I started off the post game, and then the chat wasn't working. I couldn't see anyone say anything. It was confusing, but we're here. It seems like everything's good now. I can see the chat going on. And guys, since we are late, get those likes up so we can get everyone here as soon as possible and share this stream with everyone. Adam, I just kind of gave my quick 1-minute thoughts in this game. Why don't you dive in? Because they heard me talk for 2 hours. First and foremost, obviously, a win is a win. We're through to the final, which is what we wanted. That was the main thing we wanted. But if it kind of felt like it could have and should have been easier.
Right. So, you know what's fun? Like, my son's 7, and this is like the first year he's really gotten into it with me, right? So this is kind of it, right? When you're 5, 6, it's kind of like, he'd peek at a game with me, but he's been like all in. And so for him, what's really funny, guys, is like, I've been trying to tell him, hey, this isn't all of our players, but he doesn't get that, right? So, like, living through him is kind of fun. Like, it's made it more enjoyable to, like, watch with him and, like, the nerve-wracking nature of soccer, right, which he's starting to understand. PKs, right, last game. This game, a 2-1 where, like, every kick of the ball in the last 30 minutes is potentially a game tire. So, like, that's, like, really fun, right? In the context of this tourney, cool. Like, great, all fun. Glad we made a final. Got a little fortunate with the road to the final, in my opinion. This was a fortunate game to have in a semifinal, just being honest, right? Like, cool. I do not feel good about the final at all. I wish I felt better, but there's no way to feel very good. I don't feel like either of the two performances in the knockout games were riveting. It feels, like 2021, where it's like, hey, this is kind of cool and fun, but I hope everybody's just keeping it in isolation and have fun with it in isolation. And also allow people to analyze outside of the context of the tourney as well, because that's important, because we have a World Cup next year. That's what's important, right? And, like, who on this team can help us in that World Cup and who might be being overvalued for what they're bringing this summer, which is really That's worrisome to me.
I think what you said is important to reemphasize again. It's like, guys, celebrate the win. We're going to celebrate the win, and I hope we beat Mexico on Sunday. If we play Mexico, they still have to beat Honduras. But of course, when we're talking about the game, we're going to talk about what was good and what was bad. And there was good, especially the first 15, 20 minutes. I thought we looked very good. And then the game kind of evened out. And then in the second half, we're going to talk more because I have a lot of criticism towards Pochettino, because clearly he invited Guatemala to attack us. If you're the superior opponent, you don't invite them to attack you. You kill off the game, get 3, get 4, then it's over. But in the second half, it's almost as if he got a 2-0 lead against, let's say, Germany. And he's like, oh, they're a better team. So let's sit back now and just try to defend. It's not Germany. It's Guatemala. You got 2 goals. You go for 3. You go for 4. And then now you killed off the game. You can sit back, rest a few guys. Pete, welcome.
Thanks. Just to comment on something you said, it's hard to kill off the game if Patrick Aguimang is your 9, okay? Because he had chances to, giving the ball. I mean, I don't need to go over anybody in the chat could see he was terrible. And the whole tournament long, we've been, had people saying, no, he's good. You don't understand what he does. And yet he seems to be getting worse as the tournament goes on, not better. Like, that pass to Luna should have been 3-0 in the first half. If he had acres of time and space, all he had to do was play that in behind. Instead, he passes it behind him. You can't kill off the game like that, even against Guatemala. And by the way, Guatemala gave him a lot of space. There were times where Aguimang would check into the pocket and the defenders wouldn't follow him. So he had nobody on his back. So he had so much time to turn with the ball and find a good pass. And either he would take too long with it, so they would just regroup and set that defensive block again, or he'd give a pass behind a player, or he'd give the ball away. And so yes, I agree with you. Pochettino shouldn't have sat back, but at the end of the day, that should have been 4-0 in the first half if we had a competent striker on the field.
Yeah, but who
If
picked
you
the
look-
competent striker, right? There's
look
that
at-
too.
Guys, like look at like
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why didn't we give Damian Downs more minutes? Why are we giving him 8 minutes again?
Right. And it's like in similar type of games, right? We've seen Jesus Ferreira, who I don't think any of the three of us are like that high on him, but we've seen him dominate play in games like this, right? Like at a way higher level than what we're seeing out of Ajimang, right? Like these are games that we've literally watched Jesus score 2 goals. Jesus scored 3 goals. Like, and we even in those games, we're like, guys, easy, slow the roll a little bit. You know, like Pat's not even doing that. How many, like, I do not count the deflected goal. How many goals does he have right now?
One in the Gold Cup. One. The one that we defeated Haiti. But guys,
against Haiti.
But like we'll talk about him specifically in the player ratings. Otherwise, we're gonna talk about him completely.
Right. I think let me say one more thing though, right? Because I think this is important context. This Guatemala team in the back, their center backs are Romania and Guatemalan Pro League, right? Guatemalan Pro League on the left, DC United on the right, but he's playing more up the field. Like this should be a game all of your attackers feast. And in the first 15-20, you saw that, right? It was like, whoa, we're way above the level of this defense. And whether it was tactics or, to Pete's point, you know, just inefficient play in the final third, inexcusable to only score 2 in that game, in my opinion. Like that was a game where we could have scored 4 if we were on
overall, like in terms, if you look purely on performances throughout the Gold Cup, it hasn't been good. The results have been good because we're advancing, right? We on penalty shootouts Costa Rica, but we've been advancing. The first thing I want to say here is, once again, everyone that just tuned in, we had to switch up because Pete was traveling. The idea was to do it at 11 Yanks. So if you guys saw the 11 Yanks stream, that's why we were there. And then Pete wasn't able to because he got work, got stuff. So that's why we're doing it here today.
I just put a comment on the other one because there are 50 people there waiting for me. So I just put a pinned comment saying sending them here. So hopefully they should be here soon.
And then, guys, get the likes up in the stream. If you just got here, get them up. And if you're watching this later, also get the likes much higher than they are right now. Why don't we start with this? Besides the win, which is the big positive of the game, does anyone have another big positive? I do have one if you guys want that, and you can piggyback right on that one. Should I go? Yeah, I thought for the first 20 minutes or so, roughly, when we actually tried to play instead of defend, we were actually completely dominating them. We got 2 goals, and it could have been 3, and they were not playing. They were not doing crap. If we just play like that the entire first half, because we toned it down after, and if we play like that in the beginning of the second half, this would have been an easy win. Probably 3-0, maybe 4, regardless of Ajiman, regardless of him. Like, it would have been. But for some reason, we decided to not continue that in the first half. And then in the second half, we already talked about that. So my positive of that is, if this team wants to play, there's enough good players there that can get something done on offense. The offense.
Certainly against Guatemala.
Yes, quite well. Honestly, certain players like that, like Luna, Tillman, even Tyler there in the midfield. Sebastian Berhalter wasn't bad. Also, like any of these guys, Luca Del Toro against Mexico, they can do it too. But the problem is, can you do it the full 90, and can you defend against them? I'm more concerned about the defense against Mexico more than anything. So the one positive is that those first 20 minutes, we saw what this team can do. And we saw a little bit of that against Costa Rica as well. That the offense was actually flowing. Diego Luna, that was the second goal was a very nice goal. The first goal, he starts the play, switches it, goes into the box. We get a nice shot from Luca Del Toro, and he's there for the rebound. And if you notice, it wasn't a tap-in. He had to get a good first touch and then finish with his left. So 2 very nice goals. Yes, 2 very nice goals from Luna. So those are positives. The offense, they're operating with a player that doesn't help much, and they're still getting it going. I see that as a positive. I don't know if you guys have anything else.
No, I think for me, really, like Tillman and Luna kind of solidifying their spots in this team. Now, you could argue whether or not Luna should start with the A team. It's a different story. But remember, like when Pulisic and Weah were out, even going into this tournament, we were like, who starts on the wing? There was no clear, maybe Haji right on the left wing. But in this tournament, and I understand it is just a Gold Cup, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to ball out at the World Cup, but I feel a lot more comfortable with Luna as the immediate backup to either of our wingers if something goes wrong, or coming off if you need a goal, coming off the bench late, right? And, depending on what happens to Luna this season and what happens with Weah, you could make a case that he could start pushing Weah, which is what we want, right? We want guys that can push. Now Gio is looking over his shoulder, hopefully at Tillman, and going, I've probably lost that 10 spot. I'd better get it together this season if I want to try and get it back, And so that's, I think, a real positive is that, Richards too coming in as the spine of the defense, and maybe for the first time consistently showing his Crystal Palace form for the US. Those are all really good things. Obviously there's other negatives that we can talk about when we get onto that. But like for me, those three stepping up big time in this tournament has been the positive.
Adam, you have a positive outside of what we mentioned?
Yeah.
Besides individual players,
it'll be in the same ballpark. But I think when we did successfully get the ball to the final third, which I thought we actually struggled to do that for the last 70 minutes, because I thought Guatemala did a nice job of flooding the midfield, mucking up the game in the midfield. I thought our midfield was well below the level to connect play from back to front. I didn't think we were able to connect it well. But, I think it was a Ream long ball. It might have been Arston, I forget, over to Luna. And just seeing something like Luna take the ball down. I don't know if you guys remember that touch. He, it was like a one touch almost at his head level, brought it down, played it to Aronson. Aronson threw. Like simple pattern. There were a lot of simple patterns like that. And I think Pete kind of mentioned it. We weren't able to finish it off because we just didn't have the right 9 on the field. And the balls weren't being played to the right guy. Not being played. Sometimes that ball might go to Tillman, right, who's making a run. They just all kind of went to Ajimong, and he just can't finish those kind of balls right now. So my positive is like we were actually, for the lack of play through the midfield, when we did get it to the front, there were some like things that are translatable to me, right? There's some things that I'm like, okay, that could work against a real team. And that's nice to see. And it's nice to see that there might be a couple guys on the roster who can bring that into the A squad.
And then before we talk about player ratings, because I think during player ratings is where it'll get interesting, talking about individual guys. There's a lot of positives and negatives there. One big negative to me is that this game was a game to actually completely dominate Guatemala and kick them out of the field. It should have been easy. Not because I'm underestimating them, but simply because of how it started off. We got the 2 goals early. They had to open up. They had to attack us. They didn't bunker. Guatemala didn't bunker. They couldn't do it because they had to attack us. So it was a game to get 3-4-0 win, not concede a goal. But instead, especially in the second half, my biggest issue was the second half. We decided to take a cowardly approach against a team that is inferior to ours in terms of talent, preparation, resources, everything. It was a game to literally kill off, right? PSG didn't stop against Inter Miami when they scored the second goal. They stopped when they scored the fourth. And believe me, if Inter Miami pulled 1 goal, they would have gone there and scored 3. Instead, we sat back and we just defended for our lives. And eventually, Guatemala got a goal. And you never know. Like we gambled at the end. It could have happened that they could have tied. And once it's on penalty shootouts, you saw what happened with Canada. That was concerning because when we're in the World Cup, we need a coach that can make the right decisions on the spot. A lot of the decisions you're going to make during the game are gut feelings and just instinct. And so far, the entire Gold Cup, Pochettino's in-game management has been extremely questionable, extremely, and it never changed. So that is concerning for the final against Mexico, and that's concerning for the next 12 months. So that to me was a big negative. The in-game management was nonsense what he did. It was nonsense, and it was very risky, and I didn't like that because it should have been. We have a much better team than the result shows. So that was an issue for me. I don't know if you guys have any big negative outside of like individual players.
I think we looked so nervy. Like, we looked in control for the first 20 minutes, right? Maybe half an hour. But even in the first half, if you remember, Guatemala created chances and they put pressure on us. And we didn't feel like we were ever really in control of that game. I think Luna's brilliance scored us the first 2 goals, but I question the mentality, right? When Guatemala puts any kind of pressure, and this is Guatemala, right? It's not like you're doing this against France or even forget France. We saw what we collapsed against Switzerland, right? Or Turkey even. We still look scared. And, their star striker, Rubio Rubin, is a Charleston Battery player. This is a USL player, right? Like, if we look this nervy and we don't have the ability to have complete control of a game against Guatemala, it just makes me question the mentality of this group against better teams like we saw before this tournament. And I think that mentality and that sort of scared deer in headlights response to any kind of pressure or intensity in a game definitely has me worried.
Yeah, Adam, do you have any negative outside of that, or go ahead?
Sure. My biggest negative to this whole camp, right? It actually was yours, Tack, but I have another one that is like equally as troubling to me. And it's that this was a great tournament to establish depth. And I think for as excited as I am about, I think Tillman and Luna, who are both have emerged nicely. What it means in the grand scheme, we'll see, right? But at least they've played well in this tourney, which is like the baseline, right? If you want to go impact the team, you have to play well here against these opponents. But what's really troubling is the 9. I think this is a great tournament to figure out depth, right? To bring in a few, fun options, included Ajiman. I'm fine with that. Try different guys out and figure out, who's going to be the guy. We've been like stuck on Ajiman for 80 minutes a game. Why? The midfield, right? Like, I know Johnny played poorly in the friendlies, but like we just don't get to see him again. The guy,
well, he's injured now. Now you're right, yeah.
Right, but like he wasn't hurt the last. When did he get hurt?
He was fine for the group stage, but he was hurt against Costa Rica. Yeah,
but he didn't play. When did he play in the group stage? Did he play
8 minutes?
Right. So like, but even beyond that, the outside backs, right? We're like stuck on these. There's just nothing being tried. Like, I just was hoping we would experiment a little bit more and not get like stuck and be like, this is the team that's going to win the Gold Cup. I don't know about that.
To your point, Adam, we didn't bring Tanner Tessman, Gianluca Busio, Aiden Morris, Paxton Aronson. We brought belatedly as an injury replacement and proceeded to not play him at all, pretty much. These are guys that maybe you're like, okay, could they provide depth if you give them an opportunity in the Gold Cup? Right. But instead, we keep giving the same minutes to Luca De La Torre, Sebastian Berhalter,
and Jack McGlynn. And if they're going to go play the way Tillman and Luna have played, great. Like, great.
But they haven't.
But they haven't. Like, they're not playing over their skis or like in a way that I'm like, man, I see it. I'm just like, can we try even just rotate one? I'm not asking all. Like, we're not rotating any. Like, we're rotating nobody. Playing the same group 80 minutes a game on short rest and like, we don't even get to like try out other options. So wasted opportunity for me to like maybe explore some depth at different spots. It seems like we're stuck on a bunch of guys for this tourney that I really hope are not a part of the actual plans. I'm worried that they might be, but I hope they're not.
Yeah, and I guess we're going to find out right away in September based on who he calls up and he plays. So now let's go like this. Let's talk about this. Let's go through player ratings. And guys, the super chats, let's do this. I'm going to read them at the end. Since there's not many, I'm just going to read the super chats at the very end of the stream because I want to go through player ratings and ignore the foot mob ratings. We're going to do our own ratings. I'm just putting it here so we can see the players. Let's go one by one. And Adam, you've seen it before, right? We do it from 1 to 10. 5 is average. So 5 is not a bad rating by any means. Just mean the guy was okay. Matt Freese. I'll start with Matt Freese, and then we'll go in different orders. Then next one, Pete starts, and then Adam starts. Matt Freese, to me, made some good saves throughout the game, but was also shaky at times, some of the hands. But I'm going to give Matt Freese, and I'm trying to remember the goal. He didn't have any fault on the goal. With his feet, he's kind of just playing it safe these days after that mistake against Haiti. He's just booting it anywhere, which me and Pete actually talked about that on the phone. I like that he's just booting the ball away because he knows he's not good with his feet. So he's just not risking it. And I'm fine with that. I don't like it when a goalkeeper is not good with his feet and he tries to do it. I'm actually going to give Matt Freese a 7 for this game. I'm going to give him a 7. It wasn't anything outstanding, but I thought he was definitely above average in his performance. If it's generous or not, I don't know. Wasn't at fault for the goal. I'm giving him a 7.
I'll jump in. I have him. Oh, go ahead, Pete.
No. I think 7 is fair. I'd probably give him that as well.
I'm going to be way different than you guys. I'm at a 4. I thought everything he did save wise was replacement level. Like I'd expect anybody who stepped between the posts to make those saves. I didn't think anything was special. So that would give him a 5. And then I thought he was really bad deciding when to come off the line, when not to come off the line. I thought he was really nervy and shaky, honestly, just kind of watching it. I have low trust in Freese. I don't see it. A lot of people really like his performances, and I don't see it. I'm not a huge fan. He hasn't done anything close to what we saw to Turner in the 21 Gold Cup, which is like Turner made above replacement level saves. And I just haven't seen too much. He was great in the shootout, right? Like that's the one moment where he's been great. Everything else from him in this whole tourney has been very mid. And then I give him a 4 because I thought he was shaky with his decision making tonight. I think a better team might make him pay for it.
You might be right about all of that. I still think he did fine so far, but in terms of being nervy with him, I'm still not sold on Matt Freese. Nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. I mean, unless we bring him in and do what Louis van Gaal did in 2014. He's like our penalty kick goalkeeper. We go to penalty shootouts, you send in Matt Freese.
Yeah, but then you have Matt Turner in goal. I think that's the problem, is like people are desperate for Matt Freese to do well because our goalkeeping situation is so terrible, you know? So it's like people are like, oh, look at that. Maybe can that be, you know, and maybe he can. I think we need bigger sample sizes on Freese. But I tend to agree with Adam's assessment that he has been far from convincing. Like some people are saying he nailed his spot. No, I think he's thrown himself into the mix. And I think it's still it's anyone's job to win or lose at this point.
I've been hoping.
What did you rate him, Pete?
I gave him a 7 because I thought he was good.
Yeah.
But I don't totally agree that he's completely won the spot. And I give him a 7 because he wasn't perfect either. He had some shaky moments.
No, and that I agree with you guys. I gave the rating for this game. I'm not giving a rating in terms of like, I think he's worked his way into the roster. Like if we bring an A roster, you bring Matt Freese right now to the roster. Whether he's the starter, I don't know. The starter is up for grabs. No one has convinced anyone. So everyone, make sure to drop a like in the stream if you haven't already. Try to get those likes to 500 if you haven't liked it so far. So Pete, I'll let you go first on this one. Alex Freeman, do you have thoughts on him?
This was actually one of his better games. And before I say that, I should clarify. I watched the first half of this game on my phone on the airplane, okay, on a bit of a sketchy feed, all right? So there were times where it was a little bit not super clear. And then I watched the second half in an Uber on the way here. So I, take my ratings with a grain of salt. Watching it on your phone while moving is different. But I'm going to give him actually a 7.5. Actually, I'm going to give him a full 8. And I'm going to say this. I thought it was better defensively than he has been, especially against Costa Rica. And he was also actually had the freedom to get forward and attack, which it feels like Poch didn't let him do in the group stage much. And today he had a lot more license to roam and to contribute down the, and we saw it. He was involved in the second goal that we scored. And I thought he was a lot more consistent than we've seen him be in this tournament so far. So I'm giving him a full 8.
Adam?
I feel like I'm probably at about 6.5 on him. I think it was an above average game. And I do agree with Pete. We didn't see the defensive shakiness that we've seen from him. He's been shaky, right? But I did actually think you saw some bright moments with the ball. And I thought you saw the potential, right? That people, and I think we all see in him, right? There is some nice potential there moving forward. But yeah, he wasn't, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it, but it didn't feel like he was called into duty, but he also didn't mess anything up. And it was a game where we were under pressure for the last 60 minutes in some pretty big ways. So 6.5.
Yeah, I'll go with the same I gave Matt Freese. I'm giving him a 7. I thought defensively he did fine. I still have a lot of question marks in regards to his game. The same thing you guys said about Matt Freese. I think he's very technically poor. The first touch is not there. He's very stiff. He can't move quick. He can't beat the men off the dribble. And I think against a good opponent, Alex Freeman won't be effective going forward, in my opinion. I don't think he will be. Defensively, he was fine today. I don't remember him making a mistake. And he would have had an assist. If you guys remember, he hit a very nice cross to Ajiman. And Ajiman was jumping with a defender that is like half of his height. And Ajiman just had it right at the goalkeeper. If he headed it down, it was a goal. And he had it right at the goalkeeper. That would have been an assist for Matt Freese, and that would have probably killed off the game. I believe it was 2-0 at the time. So, again, Alex Freeman, good defensively, and had some good moments on top. I can't give him more than a 7, so I'll end it there. But I think overall is that I still don't think he's going to be a starter for the national team ever. I don't think the ceiling is as high as some people think. I think he's more of an athlete than a soccer player. But for this game, I can't really complain much about Alex. And then after him, we have Arfston, also known by many as Barfston. And since Pete went first in the last one, I went first in the first one. Adam, you take it from here for Arfston. What is his rating and why? Before you go, Adam, just one thing. Much less eventful game from Arfston this time around, right, than the last one. Much less.
Yeah, less eventful, but still just really poor with just basic decision making. without any of like, I don't know, he didn't bring the positives this game. He didn't bring like letting goals in either, but like it was still just a really poor game. I give him like a 4. I just don't see much in him, man. I think there's a little bit of something when he can get forward. It's nowhere close to national team level, but if I have to give him some credit, it's like when he gets forward, I can see a little bit of a flash sometimes. But God, he was like passing the ball away, Tack, like 4 or 5, just like blatant passes, basic passes to no one. So I can't give him more than a 4.
I'll go second here and I'll let Pete go. To me, this is probably the first one that I 100% agree with everything you said, and I'll probably just give the same rating because I don't really want to think much about the number. I'll give Arfston a 4 on this one. He wasn't as bad defensively as the previous game because he wasn't at fault for any of the goals. As far as I can remember, the one goal wasn't on him. But he didn't really offer much going forward, which is supposed to be his forte. And in general, just a very limited player when it comes to what he can contribute to the team. They try to hype him up because he got the goal and he's had 3 assists so far in the goal, 3 assists, because some of them were not good assists. Not every assist is the same. We need to talk about that too, right? There's assists and there's assists. And some of Arfston's assists were more assists.
No, all of his assists were assists.
All of them? Okay.
It's like my favorite thing on Twitter. You'll see like on a random Saturday, it's like Pulisic assist. And I'm like, oh, nice. And it's like a pass to a guy who hits like a banger. And I'm like, well,
yeah, it reminds me.
All the exclamation points behind the assist there, guys.
It reminds me of Weston McKennie's assist to that Tyler Adams goal against Mexico in the Nations League final. That he just kind of passed it to the side and freaking Tyler Adams just like hits a rocket from 40 yards out. I'm like, oh, what an assist from Weston. It's like, no. So Barfston, I'll give him a 4. It's like, I'm going to say this. We're probably going to talk about this in the preview and on Sunday. Token has to start against Mexico. He's much more, he's not like a brilliant left back by any means, but he's much more well-rounded than Arfston. Defensively and in possession, Token has to start. Pete, your rating for your beloved Arfston.
I'll give him a 5 just because he didn't stand out in a positive way or in a negative way to me.
MLS
Keep in mind,
show,
I'm watching
MLS
on my phone, right? So it's like, I just didn't see him do anything. And again, this is against Guatemala. I know we don't always when we do the ratings, we don't take the opponent really so much into account that much. But it's fair to say that if you don't, like the very bare minimum, I think, to be pushing for a 2026 World Cup roster spot is you better be looking damn good against teams like Guatemala, right? Which says even more when someone like Aguimang looks bad. But for Arfston today, not terrible, not great, just very mid. Like he felt like he could also play for Guatemala, So no, like seriously, like he could be on their team and is almost at that level. So I'll give him a 5. I think that's generous, but I didn't see any. Maybe when I do the Patreon video tomorrow and break it down, I might find more things that I didn't like about him. But from what I saw, I'll give him a 5.
Herrera, for instance, right? Similar position, was way better than him on the Guatemala side, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's a player that we pretty much gave to Guatemala. He was with the national team at some point. I think Aaron Herrera played in the Olympics too, didn't he?
Not this Olympics.
No, maybe the last.
No. He played in the Olympic qualifying, I think.
Olympic qualifying under Jason Kreis.
Yeah, he was there. So again, just like Rubio Rubin was with the national team at some point, the U.S. Now let's go to the midfield, and then we have the double pivot there. Let's start with Luca De La Torre, which who goes now first? It's me, right? Yeah, it's me.
Yeah, it's you.
Luca De La Torre had the shot on target that was the rebound of the first goal, if I'm not mistaken. Tillman took a weird touch, but De La Torre hit a nice strike, and the goalkeeper put it down. But overall, I thought he was very meh. I didn't think he was horrendous, but I think it was a similar performance to Arfston, I would say. Yeah. Just like didn't stand out, had some silly mistakes. I think he was the one that lost the ball once. He had to foul the opponent, and he got a yellow. And I think he was subbed out early because of that yellow. I'm giving Luca also a 4. I mean, I'm not going to bump him up because he hit a shot on target. It wasn't also a brilliant shot. It was an okay shot. And the goalkeeper gave it. A better goalkeeper would have hit it away. But I'm giving him a 4 also, just like Arfston. I think fair is fair. Pete, it's your second.
Then I'll just give him a 5, the same as I gave Arfston. He was not great. He was also not terrible. I'll just keep it at that. I do think Jack McGlynn should get a chance to start the final. At least McGlynn offers you set pieces, and he's goal dangerous. He can hit a banger from time to time. Luca has never been goal dangerous his entire career. For all of his ability, He's never been goal dangerous, and I'm worried that we're going to need that against Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta grade Luka a little bit more on a curve, just because I just expect more out of him at this point in his career. I don't expect him to be special. I just would expect him to be able to show up in a tournament like this against these kind of opponents and look far better. So grade, I'm probably similar to you guys, but I'm just going to grade him on a curve and give him a 3, because I just expect way more out of him in a game like that. Like the midfield was owned, guy. I mean, last 60 minutes, I thought the midfield was they were ghosts. I thought him and Berhalter were ghosts. I thought they were lost positionally, lost with the ball, getting pressed and taken off the ball. I think I'd have to watch it back. I haven't watched replays. I think De La Torre was involved in that goal. I think he kind of whiffed on a tackle before the guy got through them to get to Richards' level. So 3. It's not good. Not good enough.
Yeah, all of these are kind of fair, all of them. Tyler Adams, and I'll let you go first, Pete, on Tyler, which I thought he was better today than Costa Rica, that's for sure.
Yeah, he definitely did a better job protecting the back line. My problem with Tyler, and you can take this as a positive or negative, is he doesn't dictate the tempo of right. Your double pivot is really supposed to dictate the tempo of the game. Now you can argue that that's not Tyler's game, and that would be correct. But against Guatemala, I would maybe want him to be a little bit more in charge of dictating tempo, understanding when we need to slow the game down, take the sting out of it. It just felt like we never had control. And as our tough tackling midfielder and probably most experienced guy in this team outside of Tim Ream, you want him to do that. And I just don't think he did. But I thought all the other work of protecting the back line, doing all the Tyler Adams things, winning tackles, forcing them wide, delaying, that stuff I'll give him credit for. I'll give him a 6.5. It's not higher because I wanted a little more tempo control from him.
Yeah, I concur with Pete. I have a little bit of a different score, but I think our take is pretty similar. He did the Tyler Adams stuff. He didn't get lost in that. Great. It's kind of a baseline for me. He's going to do that. What's troubling to me, guys, is like this. It goes back to the whole holistic midfield, which I've talked about a couple of times here. They pressed us. I mean, they put pressure on our midfield, and our midfield's answer was passed back to the center backs. And at times, the center backs and keeper looked a little shaky because they were getting applied so much pressure, right? There was these like 10-yard passes backwards, and the press just kind of, Adams was like, well, I don't want to do anything with it. Here, you do something. And all of a sudden, Richards was like, well, now I'm absorbing a guy sprinting at me. And so, in bad position, and nobody moved in the correct ways. So and Adams is absolutely a fall for that, Pete. You nailed it, right? It's like, and I get that he can't do that, but like, God, you got to be a little bit more press resistant than that. Like, so I'm at like a 5 probably. It's kind of a run of the mill Tyler Adams game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 6. I thought it was above average, the performance, especially defensively. There were times where he was press resistant, but for the most part, he's not. And that, again, that's another lesson for us to take out of this Gold Cup, that when you play against better opponents, Tyler Adams cannot really be involved on the build-out. You push him a bit higher up the field. He can do a lot of the things, the dirty work, defensive work, leadership, whatever you want to call it. But when it comes to building out of the back or just in possession, there are limitations to his game. Like, he's not bad by any means. And honestly, outside of Tillman and Luna, he might be actually the 3rd best player on the ball in this team right now, outside of Tillman and Luna. But I'll give him a 6. I can't say it was a bad performance, not even average. I would say it was above average, and he helped the team a lot to get this win. He was an important player. He did actually make one mistake. I think it was in the first half that almost led to a Guatemalan goal, where he lost the ball, and then he just yelling for foul and like flopping around on the floor. I don't know if you guys remember that. Like, Tyler, if you don't get the call, get up. You didn't get the call, get up.
I thought he was kind of yelling at Berhalter too. I might be wrong on that, but like I thought he was like kind of blaming Berhalter for putting him in a bad spot. I might be off on that. The announcer,
but he needs to just get up and play.
It wasn't a bad pass by Berhalter either. He just it was where the ball should have gone. He just isn't good at like checking shoulders and knowing where to make a quick decision and read. Here's my thing about Tyler. He's a game management quarterback. Like, he's a quarterback who can only throw checkdowns, right? So it's like you have to have guys around a check down quarterback who are super dynamic. And that's the problem with Tyler. It's like you need his partner better be really good at doing what he can't do. And like the center backs better be really good at it. Because as soon as you pair him with like 2 or 3 guys, like we've seen, right? Aaron Long last cycle, Zimmerman, as soon as you put 2 or 3 of them together, this is kind of what the game can look like pretty quickly.
Now, Adam, let's talk about the guy you just mentioned, Sebastian Berhalter. What's your rating for him?
pretty similar to what I have for Luka. I thought it was a 3. I thought at the beginning of the game, but I just don't rate that very highly because that wasn't where Guatemala took the game. Guatemala put the game into a state that we saw for the last 60 minutes. And I thought Luka and Berhalter failed in that, right? I just thought both of them were a 3 because those were all the moments that really mattered to me, right? Was being able to play in those moments was what we needed from him and Luka, and they both failed massively. Yeah, it was a well below performance for me. He didn't even do a lot of the gritty stuff that we've seen him do, which I've actually liked. I've enjoyed the grittiness and him kind of matching Luna's energy level where it's like, oh man, those two guys are just kind of mixing it up. He didn't even bring a lot of that for me tonight.
I'm trying to also remember, did he have any good set pieces? There was one that he hit, I think, the post, but it deflected, right? He hit the wall.
The deflection that got saved, right? So that was the one that was.
But it hit the wall. But it hit the wall. He hit the wall.
I don't know. The shot in general didn't look great to me. It didn't look like it was good, but it ended up being great off the deflection. Maybe you can.
Yeah, I think still defensively there were moments where he still had that fight in him, Sebastian Berhalter. I'll give him a 5. It might be generous. I'm going to give him an average performance. He definitely didn't stand out. And I mean, and this is one thing we have, the media is glazing this guy. He needs to be in the national team in the future. I think he's probably an Acosta level player that we used to have, which nowadays with the players we have, there's no space for him when you have a full roster. He brings in the fight, sometimes occasionally some set pieces, but it is what it is with him. He did okay. I'll give him a 5. Pete?
People were glazing him for Vancouver too. Oh, he's great. We should blah, blah, blah. He is an MLS level midfielder. I'm sorry. That's who he's shown to be over the entire course of this Gold Cup tournament. If he does go to Europe, it'll be at a low level and he will be return at some point. He's 23, 24. He's not young either, right? Let's keep that in mind. He's a classic, yeah, like you said, Kellen Acosta, Christian Roldan sort of guy, decent sort of MLS level player. Maybe even a DP contract if he pulls a Jesus Ferreira and decides to stick around. But he's not ever going to be a meaningful player no matter what Stu Holden tells you on Fox, right? So I thought he was a 4 today. I never had any expectations of Sebastian Berhalter in this tournament at all, and he met exactly the expectations that I have of him, which is what an average to good MLS midfielder would look like in the Gold Cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if they would be glazing him if his last name was different. Next up, I think, Pete, it's you or Adam that goes now first.
We didn't do center backs, huh?
Yeah, we skipped the CVs.
Oh, I skipped the 2 center backs. You're right. So Chris Richards, for the most part of the game, I thought the goal we conceded was Richards and Ream through the middle, not being able to actually stop the guy. So they were definitely culpable on the goal. I don't think that one was on Matt Freese when the guy's cutting inside. I don't remember if anyone else failed in that goal.
The midfielders gave it up first.
Midfielders
were really poor. It was Luka and somebody else at that point, I forget. They let that guy kind of run past. And then I put a lot of that on Richards, though. I thought Richards has to step up. I know he has a yellow, but you have to step up strong there.
Yeah, I think for the center backs, for what I've seen, also take into account that this is Guatemala, I'm going to give probably Tim Ream a 6 and Richards a 5. That's what I'd probably give them throughout the game. Richards wasn't bad by any means, but this was probably his worst performance out of all of the games he had in the Gold Cup. That he stood out every game, actually. He was pretty much battling to be our man of the match every game and even was the man of the match in one of the games. So I'll give Richards a 5 and Ream a 6 in this game.
I think those are fair. I think if you go through a whole tournament looking really good and you make one mistake, that can happen. Mm-hmm. One mistake is not the end of the world so long as you're looking really good the rest of the time. And he has. But I think you're right. I think because of that goal, I know he was on a yellow. You have to go to ground and block that shot, yellow or not. You can't be thinking about the Mexico game, which maybe he was, right? Maybe he was if I get a yellow now, I won't face Mexico and we're 2 up. Yeah, but now we put ourselves under a ton of pressure. Or maybe he was just tired. I don't know. Whatever it was, he had to do better. I think other than that, he was fine. I'll give him a 4.5 and I'll give Ream. Honestly, I'm going to give Ream a 5. I thought Ream looked quite shaky. I'm actually going to give Ream a 4. Had a lot of bad giveaways and put us in nervy spots. Not a lot, a few bad giveaways and put us in some nervy spots. Again, the context being a sketchy stream on my phone. That's what I saw. I might revise my tune tomorrow when I do the Patreon.
Yeah, I might revise mine and we might meet somewhere in the middle. I was far higher on Ream in this game. I thought he broke a lot of things up that were. I thought he was the guy who's actually most integral in breaking up a lot of the actions that were dangerous. So I had him at a 7.5. I had Richards around the same for most of the game. I thought the center backs were solid. I thought they were getting put into bad spots with the ball by the midfield a lot. I thought everything was just play back, play back, play back, play back. And like I said before, I think that put them in tough spots. Neither of them were very good with the ball, though, overall. So I had Richards also at about a 7. I'll dock him a point for the goal, so I'll put him at a 6.
All right, now let's go to. Sorry for skipping the center backs. I didn't mean to do that. Richards and what's his name? Chris Richards and Ream. So let's talk about Diego Luna. Diego Luna, can I just go first with Luna? I mean, because he's going to be very easy for everyone to rate. Helped on defense, did a lot of the dirty work, hustled, scored a freaking brace. One of them was actually none of the goals were easy. Even the tap-in, which wasn't really a tap-in, it was a rebound where you had to get a first touch. There was a guy pressing him, and he finished with his left foot. And the other goal was also brilliant. And the goal that he scored, the rebound, he started the play with a nice switch to Alex Freeman. So I have to give Luna I'm going to give him like a 9. I have to give him a 9. It's not a perfect game. And he probably would have had a hat trick if Ajiman wasn't the center forward, because there was a perfect pass for him. But I'll give Luna a 9. I thought he was brilliant today. And he essentially, if you really think about it, he won us the game. So Luna 9.
No, same 9. I mean, this is his coming out tournament for the U.S., right? He wasn't maybe as good in some of the group stage games, a little more inconsistent. But Costa Rica and today, he's looked really good. He's combining really well with Tillman. They're finding good chemistry together on the field. And yeah, it's still the Gold Cup, but he's probably played himself into that 2026 World Cup roster if he keeps playing like this. I want to say, going forward, he needs to not stagnate and get stuck in MLS. I think he needs to be pushing. Use this Gold Cup tournament to push for a move this summer, hopefully to the Eredivisie, possibly Germany, maybe iron out some of the deficiencies in his game, which he still has, which is mostly consistency and decision-making. But honestly, I live with that because what an unpredictable player. He just does things that are not out of the playbook. Like, you can tell this guy was not coached at a young age. You can tell the way he plays. He did not have some, youth coach being like, we're going to pass here, then we're going to, make a run in the channel, and we're going to open our body up, and then we're going to pass here. He doesn't play like that. He plays like he's played on the streets. He looks like he's from the streets, and he plays like he's from the streets. And it is so goddamn refreshing to see a USMNT jersey play that way. End of rant.
Agreed. I like the street baller, the flair, right? Something a little bit less robotic, for the better, for the worse. Adam, what did you give him? A 9 also?
I had him at 9.5. That's as close to a 10 as I think you'll see. I mean, I thought he was electric, guys. I thought not just the first 15. We weren't able to get him the ball as much for the last 60 minutes, but even when he got on it, everything good in the game went through him, right? And in my opinion, he easily, I talked about the moment where he took the ball down, passed it to Aronson threw. I know it's not an assist for him, but it is. He's the one who really creates that and does all the hard work. He was awesome, man. And it's one of those things, does this performance directly translate over to every A-team game? No, but I think a lot of what he's doing does, right? Just because he did it against Guatemala doesn't mean it does, but I see a lot of things that are going to combine really well with the other guys he's going to be around when he's playing with the full roster.
Definitely hustles for this team. But then we have Malik Tillman there in the midfield. I thought it was another good game from Tillman, and he was actually sorry, Pete, go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to make a case for Diego Luna to PSV to replace Malik Tillman. I think that would be the best landing spot for him right now.
Yeah, because Gio can't go because Ernie's not dealing with the Reynas again.
Yeah, I mean, Reyna would be the ideal one. But if Reyna can't go, get Luna to PSV. I think it's a good stepping stone move for him.
Yeah, it could be one for him to stay 1 or 2 seasons before he tries a bigger jump. Then he'll be, 23, 24. That's the perfect age. Then you try.
He'll be playing with Pepe. 2 Mexican-Americans playing together on PSV Eindhoven would become the #1 supported team in this country.
Yeah, that is true. That's a good way to try to convince them to sign him. But it's not a bad call because he'll go to PSV. He'll have more time to adjust to Europe and play some Champions League too, because they'll be playing there. And then when he's 23 or 24, 2 years from now, he can try a top 5 league and he'll be a much more mature player by then. So Malik Tillman, very quickly, I'm giving Tillman an 8. I thought he was very good defensively. He got an assist. He was playing very well also, playing very well on offense, controlling the game. I mean, there's only good things to say about him. I did not see it as a bad performance from Tillman at all. Very far from that. So I'm giving him an 8. And they've been the two bright spots of the U.S. men's national team this camp. And there's even some chemistry between them going on that I hope. I mean, I think if those two don't play well against Mexico, the odds of winning are pretty damn low. We need those two to play very well. And Luna and Tillman have been carrying our offense in this tournament. The fact that they have more goals than our beloved center forward right there is actually quite remarkable. At least Luna definitely has. And that's all.
Tillman has 3 goals.
Tillman was like leading the tournament in goals, I think.
Tillman has more goals. Luna has more goals. Richards has as many goals.
And what do you guys rate Tillman? I gave him an 8.
Yeah, same. I think 8.
Yeah, 8 was exactly what I had in my notebook. And it was the defensive work rate is the thing that really boosts him the most, right? I thought the beginning of the game when we were going well, you could see some of the offensive stuff. I thought after that he was fine offensively, but wasn't as involved in those moments. But defensively, I was really impressed. Just work rate. Like he had 4 or 5 moments where he had to go back and get involved to break up plays that I was like, whoa, that's Tillman. Whoa, cool. Yep. I was like, that's great. Like that's big time stuff. Because that's the kind of stuff that we've, I think, all been also wanting to see out of somebody like Gio is like, okay, can you be a little more two-way? Because we're going to need you to be two-way in big games. So it's nice to see Tillman show that.
Yeah, so now the subs, I'm going to go through it very quickly. I'll give my ratings and you guys can do. We don't have to spend much time with them. I didn't think any of them were very much impactful, and they just came in to defend because we were put in a very bad situation.
Are we doing Big Pat, or are we saving him for the end?
I thought we needed to skip him because we're not allowed to hate on him.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna give Pat. I'll give him a 2. Also, I'll give him a 2 because he hustled. It's like a hustle point essentially because that's all. I'm not gonna talk about him because every time we talk about Pat Ajiman, it's just you guys are just picking on. It's like no, we don't have to talk. He gets a 2 for me. You guys give him a 2, 3, 1. Sure. What are you giving him?
Sure.
There are some people who would give him 10.
It's totally fine. There's enough air taken up on him, you know.
Yeah, it's like I'm starting to feel bad for the guy because he's playing there because Pochettino.
I feel bad too because he's like, I would also take national team minutes. It's just like, I just don't get it, man. And everybody, it's become the same thing we had all last cycle where people are trying to give analysis on a guy truthfully, and it ends up being pretty harsh because somebody's getting played over and over and over again, and it makes us as fans angry. And so we keep saying, gosh, come on, like, what is this? And then people get defensive of that. I don't even think people really believe in him. I just think they're like defensive of him because he's getting hated on. And it creates this like online fodder thing that just sucks because I don't want to lie, right? I don't want to ignore it. He's a guy who's getting a ton of playing time for us. He has more striker minutes right now in this cycle than anyone else.
Yeah, but I mean,
nobody has more striker minutes, guys.
When you have a portion of the fan base that is this goofy, I'm just going to ignore the player. I'm giving him a 2, and so be it. I mean, that's what it is. We'll skip on Ajiman. We talked enough about him. We talked about him.
I just want to say I don't feel bad for Ajiman. He's getting paid a lot of money to do something he loves but is not good at. Like that is the life right there. If anybody of us had that life, we would be so happy. So I don't feel bad for the guy at all.
Somebody compared him to Lukaku on my timeline and responding to me. And I said, yeah.
That's hatred on Lukaku.
I said, guys, he's Lukaku. If Lukaku was in Space Jam and the Monster stole all his powers.
Guys, we need to stop hating on Lukaku. What are we doing here?
That is toxic towards Lukaku, honestly.
Yeah, it's like so again, we talked about I don't think he's significant in the USMNT future, so I'm not talking about him anymore. Brendan Aronson, I am sure. There's no way. Brendan Aronson, Brendan just, it was a Brendan Aronson game. He was just like fighting and trying to fight for the ball, defending and hustling. I don't know if I'd probably give him a 4 or 5. It wasn't like he didn't do anything. So a 4, didn't offer anything too. And he's a guy playing in the championship that is technically in a Premier League team right now. I'm giving Aronson a 4. John Token and McGlynn came in and were just okay. I'm giving them a 5, just average. Zimmerman and Downs came in super late. There's not much to talk about there. So I'm giving Aronson a 4, Token a 5, Jack McGlynn a 5.
The only one I'll give Aronson a 6 because I thought he brought a needed spark, and then I actually thought he should have had an assist. I thought that should have been an assist.
But he was off. He was offside, wasn't he?
No. That was the Ajiman one where he was on and he tried to drag it to the left and got it knocked away. He should have just chipped it over. I mean, I don't know. A good striker scores on that 6, 7 out of 10 times. He scores 1. So, I mean, I don't know. It was a good through ball.
Yeah. So, what about you, Pete, with those 3 very quickly? Brendan, Token, and
I'm not going to rate any of them because the last bit of the game I wasn't able to watch because I was setting up for this. So I can't honestly rate any of them. I'll go by whatever you guys said. And I'll do it tomorrow when I do the Patreon video.
Yeah, and everyone, if you guys could, this stream was going to be at Pete's channel. In the description of his videos, he has the Patreon link. So you guys just go check out the Patreon there where he does breakdowns with the highlights, right? With the highlights, because you can't really do it on YouTube or they'll take our channel down. Last but not least, and I'm just going to quickly read the super chats here. And I thank you, everyone, for the support, by the way. Everyone that hit the like button, everything, super chats. Thank you, everyone. The reason I push the super chats late, it's to not ruin the flow that we're talking here. And then after that, we'll go through the super chats and we can address that and close the stream. And don't forget to hit the like button. Mauricio Pochettino. I'm trying to find a criteria to make it fair. Like, he obviously gets points because he did get the result, right? Which is the main thing. The starting 11, I don't like the term, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because sometimes it takes a better team to actually break it. And we haven't faced a team that has been good enough to break it. So you're not going to adjust. For example, Mexico, they might break this team. We don't know if you don't adjust. And there's a few things in the lineup that he should have adjusted from the previous games. And just because we keep advancing, it doesn't mean this is the best way to use this roster. So lineup was not perfect, far from it, the starting 11. In-game management was actually bizarre. It was really, really bad. This game should have been a lot easier. Second half, I'm going to keep repeating this, he decided to sit back like a coward. He was a coward. He decided to sit back and invite Guatemala to attack us. Well, guess what? We were not threatening in transition. We were not dangerous at Ajiman up top. Guatemala kept attacking because they had the ball. They eventually got a goal because they have enough quality to eventually get a goal. And they could have tied it at the end. It was a very dangerous game that he played where he could have defeated Guatemala, on top of the other subs being very late. Ajiman wasn't working. Other guys weren't working as well. And then Damian Downs, whoever, even Brian White, someone else, just bring something else. The subs, we saw it right there. The players were in very late, besides Brendan Aronson. And Brendan Aronson was in early because Luka got a yellow. So I think Pochettino, I can't give too low of a rating because we did advance, but the best I can give, despite the win, is a 4. I'm giving Pochettino a 4. If you guys want to be harsher, that's fine, but that's where I'm going with.
I'm giving him a 3. I expect better. This was Guatemala. So, yeah, just because you got a very narrow, squeaked out win, because of Diego Luna's brilliance, everything that you just said is still true. Starting lineup was poor. Tactics were poor. Game management was poor. His love affair with these awful players, poor. 3 is generous because he got the win. That's it.
I had written down a 2 here. And the main reason is not something as basic as this is a short turnaround into a short turnaround, right? For soccer. Not rotating at all is wild. It's a wild decision. And you're going against a poor opponent. So it's a perfect opportunity to be like, you don't need to rotate the whole team, but it's like, okay, let's take the couple guys who aren't quite there and let's put in some other guys. And he's stuck on this lineup. And then on top of that, he plays them for 75 minutes. I think one sub in the first 75, 80 minutes. That's insanity. And I think, guys, he's going to roll that same lineup out against Mexico. And that's even more of it. I have to account for that in this game, in my brain at least right now, because that's insanity to go back to back to back. Mexico is going to steamroll us with energy, guys. And listen, knock on wood, hopefully they lose tonight. But
yeah, and Mexico probably wanted to beat us in the Nations League final that we didn't make with Pochettino. And now they're going to get an opportunity to beat us in this final. They really want to do that. They still want to get that direct revenge, right? Because even in the Gold Cup in 2023, we didn't make it to the final. So They never really got their revenge in a competitive game. They beat us in a friendly where we sent whatever that team was. So for Mexico, this is actually very personal. And if Pochettino doesn't understand that, it could even get ugly if he puts the same lineup in this approach. So now very quickly through the super chat so we can all let everyone go. Brendan saying Pochettino is a threat to national security. Trump, please. Yeah, let's not deport Pochettino. Even if he's fired as a coach, he still has the right to be in the United States. Dusty Watsy saying Ajiman must have some ridiculous dirt on Poch if he's getting as many minutes as he is in this tournament. I have a theory, and I'm just going to say allegedly so I don't get in trouble with it. I think they're just trying to sell him to Europe because $8 million is a lot of money, and it looks like they're going to sell that. This is my conspiracy on this. You guys can take it for whatever it's worth. Caleb is saying shouldn't be having heart palpitations after playing Guatemala. No, that's what we were talking about. Should have been an easy win. Not easy like 2-3-0. Not something like it was towards the end.
Yeah.
Tom is saying nervous ending. Are you doing L3 hate watch? No, guys. Mexico just started the game and we're finishing this. I got to finish 7 things. Pete's got to finish his Patreon video. So no, and Adam has to go to bed and he has kids. So Adam has that. Brendan is saying, Pete, I absolutely love your movie reviews. Please continue. Pete, what's the name of the channel? Pete Reviews?
Pete Reviews Movies. Tomorrow we're reviewing Jurassic World, the one that comes out this weekend. So
did you watch it already?
No, watching it tomorrow morning for like the previews come out on Thursday. So I'll watch it tomorrow morning and then by the afternoon, we should have the review out.
So actually I want to watch that movie. So I'll watch your review. Guys, it's this channel right here, Pete Reviews Movies. So you guys can go subscribe to that channel. Go support Pete as he starts this second journey on YouTube, Pete Reviews Movies 23, or just look up Pete Reviews Movies. Go check it out. Matthew saying Ajiman is terrible. His touch led to a goal. Was it his touch?
I don't remember how far back he lost it. Possible.
Okay, yeah.
I'll see it on the replay.
It might have eventually led to it. He had one where he was in hold up, and it was like good hold up. Actually, I was like, oh, nice. And then he literally bypassed the midfield line and gave the ball away into like almost the final third backwards. I was like, what are you doing? Like, it was pretty good.
I remember that one. He passed it all the way to a defender in his own in our half.
Yeah, I was like, well, good hold up, but he like sparked a transition for the other team by passing it 40 yards the other way. That was
if someone could do someone should do like a compilation of all of his touches in the game.
Yeah.
Someone should do. Ghost Card saying new throat goat Ajiman. How is he the starter? Yeah, we don't know. Everyone sees it. Besides the upper 90 guy in the chat. Scott is saying, if the World Cup was tomorrow, do you start Luna over Weah? If Pochettino sticks to a 4-2-3-1, does Tillman knock McKennie out, or does Weston play besides Tyler? Listen, Luna does not knock out Weah until we see Luna actually perform against better opposition, right? Like if he had done this against Switzerland and Turkey, we would start having this conversation. We've seen Weah score in a World Cup. We've seen Weah playing the Serie A. We've seen Weah playing the Champions League. We haven't seen that from Luna. And if Luna was on, he would probably be the left winger, and you have to move Pulisic to the right wing. But Luna's a good option to have right now. And we'll see how he does against Korea and Japan, for example. Those are formidable opponents right there. Does Tillman knock out McKennie? Well, I mean, McKennie shouldn't be playing the 10 over Tillman right now. I would prefer Tillman at the 10 over McKennie. You guys have any thoughts on that? No.
Agreed. They're all go ahead.
Yeah. Mark is saying Ajiman's trash, Arfton is trash, Pochettino's trash. Chucky Chunks, thank you for the super chat. And then the last two, Len is saying we got to get something out of having Pochettino and his assistant coaches here. I mean, what are we going to get out? So far, I haven't been getting much out of it.
I just don't know how all in he is. Like, I don't know, man. Like if you're the comp I've made, I don't think I've made it on your channel yet. Is the, I don't even know if Pete, this Phil Jackson, right? The all-time great NBA coach, late in his career took like a bag to go coach with the Knicks and was basically like living in LA and like taking a private jet to practices. So like literally just like checked out, like still just like living his normal life and just collecting 70 mil from them. Didn't care if they fired him and bought him out. He was going to, get a buyout for 40, 50 mil. And it just reeks of that, man. Like not talking to players being like, I haven't talked to that guy. It's like, whoa, he's been hired for a year. You haven't called like Serginho Dest. Just like crazy stuff.
Not even to say, hey, I'm your new coach. How you doing?
Like, no, I haven't talked to that guy. It's like, whoa, crap. And it's like he's at charity matches with Speed. And like, I'm like, well, what is going?
What's funny about it too? It's like he gave like a bullshit excuse too. He's like, I don't want any player thinking that I think that guy gets more attention than this guy's. Like, how about you call them all equally then? Just call them all. Call all 30 of them. You do nothing for money. Just call them.
Like the recruiting element's just gone now. That sucks because at least like under the Berhalter regime, we had like the group of people were obviously recruiting. it's gone about as bad as I thought it could go through the first year, if I'm just being honest. And you guys all know, like, if you followed me, I was raving about the hire, and like the 1 year checkup, guys, is like, this is not going how I thought it would go. Now, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll pivot, and maybe this year has some special stuff in store, and we're going to see some stuff that we're not expecting, but I don't know.
And I think this is the perfect chat to end the stream with Jeff Carey saying, Adam and Pete, you missed the fun of my zesty sexual banter. Pete, if you don't know, Jeff bought a van.
Okay. That's not what you want to hear. There's a stereotype coming up in my head. You know, is there candy in the van, Jeff? Is there candy in the van?
Yeah, so that's the big news of today. Spicy Jeff now has a van. Careful, everyone. And Roberto, thank you for the super chat as well from Guatemala. Congratulations, by the way, to Guatemala for making this deep run, putting up a fight against the U.S. I think credit has to be due. And Guatemala beat Canada. They punched above their weight.
That a little bit, like for Canada, because Jesse is all bluster and hatred for the U.S. and blah, blah, blah. But he's doing exactly what I said he would do. He would start well with Canada, and then his ego would get in his own way, and he would make it all about him, like he did in Copa America and Nations League, and now again. And these two tournaments have been terrible for Canada. 3rd place in Nations League, and now quarterfinal knockout to Guatemala in Gold Cup. He's not a good coach. I'm sorry.
And before we go, Pete, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with Herc here because this is too much. Herc said, this is what Herc had to say. No comment right now on this. I'm gonna try to bring him to the channel to talk about this so he can defend himself. It's not fair right now to punch him here while he can't defend himself. He said,
no, he put his opinion out there. You're not punching him.
No, but I want to bring him on and talk about this. You can give your opinion, but I'll give mine later. He said, this may be an unpopular opinion, but Patrick Agyemang does a hell of a job playing up top by himself. I think, he's very raw, but no one really expects him to be the US 9 today. Unfortunately, he is the US 9 today, so there's that little problem.
I think Herc is delusional because he followed up this tweet where he said he's not going to be there for Poch later when everybody's back. I think he will be. I think Poch loves him enough. He's going to be the 3rd striker if he's healthy going to the World Cup. So let's stop pretending like these Gold Cup performances and these, January camp performances don't go sticking in coaches' minds. We saw this happen under Berhalter, and I think it's going to happen again, which is why it's actually harmful. Anyways.
We saw that with 2021. And then Daniel Reyes says, IRL stream with Spicy Jeff went never, ever, ever. I mean, if someone else wants to, they can do it, not us. Thank you for watching, everyone. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. Go check out Pete's movie channels, Pete's Reviews Movies, and check out Pete's breakdown on Patreon tomorrow. Link will be in the description of all of his videos on at 11 Yanks.
That stream with Spicy Jeff is going to be on the Pete Reviews Movies. Guys, go ahead on over there.
That's fine. I need all the comments I can get. That's fine. Go there.
Spicy Jeff, go to Pete's movie review channel, okay? All right, everyone. Ciao.